Biden's approval ratings ticked up a little bit in the Washington Post ABC News poll. He's at 42% compared to the low point of 37%. It's not great, 42%, but it's a hell of a lot better than 37%. He's underwater with his disapproval at 52%. Republicans, meanwhile, have lost ground on the generic congressional ballot. This I find to be fascinating. In February, 49% of registered voters said they would pick the candidate from the party of Jewish lasers. They would pick the candidate from the party of QAnon freaks. They would pick the candidate from the party of stolen elections, like of Chinese conspiracy theories, if the election were held that day. And 42% said they'd pick the Democrat. In the new poll, well, maybe my old theory that crazy doesn't pay.
Crazy doesn't win.
Maybe that theory is coming back into vogue. Only 45% chose the Republican, 46% chose the Democrat. Republicans held a 10-point advantage this fall. Listen to me. Listen to me again, because I can tell you these numbers don't mean anything. When I was campaigning, people would show me numbers. I said, I don't care what they look like today. I only care about trend lines. Show me what they looked like a month ago, 6 months ago. Well, guess what? Republicans have lost 10 points because they're crazy, because they've allowed crazy people to talk about Jewish lasers, because they've allowed crazy people to take over their primary process, accusing anybody that doesn't believe in them of being pedophiles. They have been repeating, they have been parroting conspiracy theories from not just QAnon, but from Chinese religious cults every day. That is what they have stood for. And by the way, again, look at that number. Look at the trend line. They've gone from being 10 points ahead to being one down. And I must say, I got to say, Jonathan Lemire, in part, I mean, this crazy may be catching up to this party in part because it's just exhausting. One candidate after another, like J.D. Mandel. You take what J.D. Mandel said before, what J.D. Mandel, as Donald Trump calls him, is saying now. It's crazy. And he's running around talking about stolen elections when he's the one who said if you loved Jesus, you wouldn't support Donald Trump in the past. So this shift towards Democrats over the past couple months, not surprising. Also not surprising, it's from self-identified independents. This reminds me so much of the French election, in that there were a lot of voters who said, you know, I don't really like, I was going to say Mitterrand. That's how old I am. I don't really like Macron, but, you know, he's arrogant and everything. And Le Pen, she seems to understand my plight better, but she's too crazy. She's too dangerous. I'm going to go ahead and vote for Macron. And I guarantee you, people like Mitch McConnell, I guarantee you sane political operators are thinking, we have got to push these crazy nut jobs to the side. These people that are talking about orgies in Republican meetings, these people that are talking, you know, bringing loaded guns to the airport.
Well, so far, that's all one person.
Whoa, the people talking about QAnon theories, that are talking about Jewish space lasers, that are talking about Italians that are stealing elections, that are talking about pedophile rings, that are still saying if you don't agree with us, you're a pedophile. People who are talking about burning books, who are talking about banning books. I could go on all day.
But just for the record, the orgies, the gun at the airport, the license, that's one guy.
That's just one. That's just one guy.
That's one guy.
And as it says in the Bible, I've already talked about John the Baptist. As it said, you know, in the Bible, like, you know, that's one guy, but they are legion. They are legion, especially in the House, Jonathan Lemire. So independents saying, whoa, Nelly, what say you?
Yeah, J.D. Mandel, or whatever his name is, was one of Trump's sharpest critics back in 2016 and has now come the other way and embraced some of the craziest part of the former president's platform. And all this right here is alarming more mainstream Republicans. You mentioned McConnell. He's far from alone. And heartening some Democrats. The more that these characters become center stage, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn, that's the guy, all those things, that's good for Democrats. And I have a new story out just this morning about how the White House is really leaning into this, that President Biden to this point in term hasn't really gone on the offensive that much against Republicans, but is now doing so and really trying to draw a sharp contrast between what he and his party have done and Republicans, and in particular, these fringe elements of the Republican Party, that they feel like that's their effective argument going into the midterms. They know they have faced economic headwinds. They know their historical trends are against them. The Democrats feel like this is the way that they can show voters, particularly those independent voters, those swing voters, those suburban voters. Those are the voters that gave Biden the White House along with African-American support back in 2020. They feel like those are the same voters who are going to be so turned off by this Republican extremism that they might be willing to come back and stay with the Democrats this fall. And the other thing White House officials are cheering for, a number of them told me this over the weekend, that if Elon Musk indeed takes Twitter, they hope the first thing he does is put Donald Trump back on it, because they think that if Trump starts tweeting again, it'll just simply remind these voters of the crazy that accompanied his time in office, particularly around January 6th. He'll amplify these fringe messages. He'll amplify these fringe right-wing candidates, and that can only be good for Democrats, they think.